There are clocks that tick with logic, and others that pulse with mystery. If you found yourself waking up at 1:11 a.m., 4:44 a.m., or 5:55 a.m., not once, not twice, but over and over, this is not a fluke. This is the soundless alarm of the spiritual realm. And if those awakenings were accompanied by a strange vibration in your ear, a ringing not heard by others, a high frequency that disappears as quickly as it came, then you're not like the others. You're marked. Yes, the ones who bear the letter M shaped in the creases of their palms. The ones with that perfect crescent moon resting in the flesh like a silent brand. You were not born to blend. You were born to receive signals others are too distracted to hear. This channel wasn't made for mass appeal. It wasn't designed to entertain. It's a beacon, built to guide the few who keep being pulled awake when the rest of the world sleeps. It's a reminder that your life is not random. It's encrypted, layered, divine. You've probable noticed that the hours between 1 and 6 a.m. don't feel empty to you. They feel pregnant. Pregnant with presence, memory, energy. As if something invisible is watching, waiting, whispering. That's not your imagination. That's not anxiety. That's spiritual activation. Let me be clear. You're not broken. You're being summoned. The ringing you hear when no one else does, the double numbers glowing on your digital clock, they're encoded invitations, designed to reconnect you to a mission long forgotten by the waking world. And only those who bear the markings, the M, the moon, and the unshakable sense of being different since birth, will understand this message in full. That's why you're still watching, because this isn't a video. It's an unveiling, an unlocking. There's something about 4:44 a.m. that resets your body like it's a download. There's something about 5:55 a.m. that makes you cry without knowing why. And 1:11 a.m., oh, older than your own bloodline. Chosen ones don't get rest the way others do. Because while they dream, you decode. You didn't lose sleep. You were given insight. Let me say something that very few people will dare to say out loud. The ringing in your ears is a spiritual frequency scanner. It's not always meant to feel good. It's meant to wake you up before your life goes in the wrong direction. When you start getting consistent frequencies around 4:44 a.m., check your decisions. Something or someone is about to misalign your purpose. If it's 5:55 a.m., prepare for a forced transformation. This code only shows up when your spirit is being prepared for the next level, and resistance is no longer an option. If it's 1:41 a.m., you are receiving a message directly from the unseen, a transmission meant to redirect your path, gently or abruptly. If this resonates, you're not alone. And I need you to stay until the end of this video, because the ones who carry this code, they awaken. This might just be the final confirmation you've been waiting for. This is why you're here. Because something in you knew. The silence of night was never silent. Frequencies are filters. Not everyone was supposed to hear this before. We go further. Let me ask you from one chosen one to another. Have you ever felt like this channel wasn't just suggested by YouTube, but summoned by something greater? Have you felt, even slightly, that the videos here speak to something you thought no one else had words for? If so, let me pause and say this. If you've been following this journey and feel a connection to this message, I invite you from the heart to support this channel. Not for views, not for trends, but because messages like this deserve to echo far enough to reach the ones who are still waking up alone at 4:44 a.m. You can become a member if you feel called, or simply drop a comment below suggesting a topic for our next deep dive. What number keeps following you? What keeps returning? Let's build this spiritual map together, piece by piece. Now, Let's go deeper. There's a reason why the ringing isn't random. It's not just about divine alignment. It's about divine filtration. These frequencies don't just wake you up, they separate you. When the sound vibrates in your left ear at 4:44 a.m., it's often a spiritual warning. You're being made aware of hidden energies, unseen opposition, or decisions you're about to make under false peace. It's subtle, but it saves. When the sound pulses in your right ear at 1:11 a.m., it's an activation of clarity. Suddenly, you see people for who they are. Words they said a year ago come back with new meaning. You hear the truth behind the tone. This is not coincidence. This is your divine tuning system kicking in. People with the letter M on palm of their dominant hand and that perfect crescent cupped below their fingers are spiritual receivers. Not everyone was built to carry this level of frequency. Not. Should, because hearing the signal means you're being called to filter what enters your space. It's not just awareness, it's assignment. Here's something no one tells you. Every time you ignore a ringing meant for your protection, a layer of spiritual fog returns. And each time you obey it, a layer of falsehood falls away from your path. If you're marked, you're not allowed to pretend you didn't hear it. Because the moment you were born with the M and moon, your life became part of a coded path that no one can decode for you, only with you. So here's a spiritual insight most miss. When 5:55 a.m. keeps calling you, you're in a threshold season. Something is ending, and the sound is preparing your nervous system for the shift. When 1:11 a.m. keeps showing up, you are being recalibrated to see reality with spiritual eyes. When 4:44 a.m. repeats, the realm is warning you. Clean your circle. Watch your thoughts. Armor your spirit. The reason the world doesn't understand you is designed to hear what they can't. You've probably noticed. You feel pain before it shows. You sense betrayal before it happens. You feel frequencies in rooms before people speak. That's because your ear is tuned to realms they've forgotten how to access. And that's why you keep being woken up. Not because you're restless, but because the realm is restless without you walking in your purpose. If this is reaching you, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments. What hour wakes you up the most? Which number haunts or comforts you? What does the ringing feel like in your body? Let's map this out, together, one story at a time. Because when you share, you don't just validate yourself. You activate someone else who thought they were the only one hearing these sounds in the night. It's easy to focus on the ringing, the sudden pitch, the vibration that floods your ear in the middle of the night, the pulse that no one else hears. But the real shift happens. Stops. And for the chosen ones, especially those marked with the letter M and the crescent moon, this silence isn't peace, it's pressure. It's the moment your soul steps onto the invisible stage it was rehearsing for all along. Let's get one thing clear. The ringing is the preparation. The silence is the assignment. You see, when the divine has tried again and again to get your attention through dreams, numbers, symbols, and yes, ringing, and you finally align your decisions with your calling, the signal no longer needs to alert you, because you're already walking in the direction of your design. But here's the warning few will give you. When that ringing stops and you feel an eerie stillness, do not go back to old habits. That silence is sacred. It's not absence. It's activation in disguise. Think of it this way. If you've been hearing 4:44 a.m. for weeks and it suddenly stops, it means the warning was received, and now the next test begins. If you've been and the ringing fades, it's time to act on what you already know, not wait for more signs. This is why the chosen cannot afford to be passive. because your life is being written in codes, not paragraphs, and you are the only one who can translate them in time. Now let's talk about something just as sacred: your presence here. Yes, you. You didn't land here by scrolling aimlessly. You were guided, just like others who've been feeling this spiritual friction, this inner knowing, this coded discomfort. This channel was not created to entertain the masses. It was built to speak to the right soul at the right time with the right message. And if what you've heard so far has sparked something in your spirit, if the words on this screen feel more like reminders than information, if the mention of M-shaped lines or crescent marks sent chills down your spine, then I'd like to gently invite you. Consider subscribing to this channel, not out of habit, not because you understand, deep down, that this space is more than videos. It's a spiritual frequency station, a place built with purpose to deliver exactly what your soul has been asking for. No louder, no sooner, no less. By subscribing, you're not just supporting content. You're helping us reach the next person still crying at 1:11 a.m., not knowing they're being called not haunted. You're helping bring clarity to someone who thinks they're cursed, but is actually coded. So now, I ask you this: what did you learn from today's message? What number keeps repeating in your life? Have you felt the silence after the ringing, and what changed in you after that moment? Take a breath. Then go to the comments and share your story with this community. Your insight might be the answer to someone else's spiritual question. And together, we can stop surviving alone in the dark and start decoding the divine. Together, we often imagine awakening as noise, as sudden, blinding of thunder shaking us out of sleep. But for the chosen ones, true activation doesn't scream. It pauses. It pulls in silence. It waits behind stillness, watching whether you move when the sound stops echoing. The ones marked with the letter M on their palms and the perfect crescent moon beneath their fingers know this deeply. Life has never been random. It's always been patterned. And lately, those patterns have sharpened in the hours, in the ringing, in the timing of events that seem too perfect or too painful to be mere coincidence. When you stop hearing the ringing, something sacred has occurred. The message was absorbed. You've reached a spiritual threshold. Think of it as a divine initiation. The 1:11 a.m. ring no longer pulls you from bed. That's because the guidance has already been written on your soul. The 5:55 a.m. pulses fade to silence because your spirit has begun shifting without needing to be jolted. This isn't loss, it's maturity. And yet it feels, doesn't it? Because the sound had become a companion, a reminder that you weren't crazy, that you were seen, that something beyond the veil was whispering just for you. So when that whisper vanishes, you ask, am I still chosen? Am I still protected? Have I missed something? The answer, you're not being abandoned. You're being entrusted. The hidden wisdom behind new numbers. Let's explore what's often overlooked. The shift in numbers once the ringing fades. You may begin to see new time patterns like 10:10 p.m. This is a number of spiritual alignment and completion cycles. When this appears after periods of ringing, it's signaling that something has closed, and now, new guidance will come through action, not alarm. 12:34 a.m., an ascending sequence. This code appears when you're meant to start putting spiritual knowledge into motion. Step by step, without needing further confirmation. It's divine encouragement. You know enough. Walk. 6:16 a.m., the balance. Divine trust. This time shows up after the ringing stops, reminding you that your choices now carry amplified weight because you're walking as a transmitter, not just a receiver. What's vital to understand is this: the ringing is not the gift. The ability to act without it is. Many chosen ones confuse the disappearance of sound with regression, like they've fallen out of favor with the divine. But in truth, this silence is the sacred breath before destiny speaks in full voice. It's not unusual for people who've stopped hearing the ringing to feel strange surges of clarity, become hyper-aware of people's hidden intentions, lose interest in environments that once excited them, start shedding identities, labels, even names they once carried with pride. Why? Because silence isn't the end of connection, it's the womb of purpose. Your ringing was a teacher, but now you're stepping into embodiment, the moment you no longer need signs to fall away, because when there's no sound, you're asked to trust memory, not presence. You're asked to move like the frequency is still playing, even when your ears hear nothing. When chosen ones walk in silence, their spiritual responsibility increases. You become the sound for others still trying to interpret their own frequency. Here's what that looks like. You'll find yourself offering insight to strangers, not from knowledge, but from inner knowing. You'll notice people drawn to your aura without explanation. They feel safe around you, but don't know why. You'll receive dreams with instructions or warnings, and a responsibility to act before anyone else even knows what's coming. And here's the truth. The silence empowers you to become what the sound once was. It was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to imprint the divine rhythm into your bones, so that when the world goes quiet, you are the one who rings with truth. This stage of awakening is not Sela, because it feels lonely, uncertain, heavy. But hear this with your whole spirit. If you have the M, if you carry the moon, if you've been hearing and now you're not, it's because the message has become you. You are now the alert system. You are the one others will find in moments of confusion. You are the activation for someone else's sleepwalking soul. And that's why your silence feels so loud now. Because silence is not void. Silence is transfer. Even though the ringing stops, the spiritual world keeps speaking. Here are 7 subtle signs that often replace the sound. Sudden light flickers at key moments. Without cause, lights will dim or flash around you when thinking or speaking about purpose. Random pain, behind the ear or crown, as if pressure builds in the skull, a reminder that spiritual downloads are entering through new portals. Unexpected emotional surges, crying without sadness, laughter without reason. These are signs that your stimuli. People begin confessing things to you. Even strangers feel drawn to share secrets or ask you for guidance, not knowing why. Animals react differently around you, especially birds, cats, or insects that stop near you. Nature recognizes your shift. Your dreams begin speaking in symbols, not words, repeating images, paths, old houses, celestial objects, all carrying codes for what's next. Your presence disrupts or calms rooms, depending on who's in spiritual alignment. Your energy either comforts or confronts. When you're a chosen one, you're not just spiritually sensitive, you're spiritually encoded. The M on your palm doesn't stand for mystery, it stands for mission. Marked, messengers, mirrors. The crescent moon isn't decoration. It's a divine receiver, a sacred curve designed to catch spiritual echoes others miss. That's why even when the ringing fades, your palms still tingle, your dreams still call you, your steps still pull you away from noise, Anne. The calling doesn't depend on volume. It depends on willingness. And the time has come to step into what you already are, a walking signal, a living code, a silent sound. You were not meant to depend on the sound forever. You were meant to become the echo. There is a mystery in the lives of the marked, those who carry the letter M, not as ink, but as inheritance. Those with the crescent moon carved beneath their fingers, like a private seal between heaven and earth. It begins with the ringing. It deepens through the patterns, but it matures in the stillness. What most don't understand, and what no one teaches, is that silence is not a failure of the spirit. It is a transfer of trust. The graduation of the chosen. The divine doesn't abandon, but it does promote. And promotions don't come with applause. They come with pressure. When the ringing fades and you begin to sense a new kind of emptiness, not depressing, but expectant, that is your cue. Not that something's special. Next in command. You have moved from student to steward, from listener to leader, from seeker to signal. This is a sacred graduation, and most will not recognize it because it doesn't come with certificates, only clarity. Clarity in how you walk differently now. Clarity in how you can no longer sit through conversations that feel disconnected from spirit. Clarity in how your discernment speaks louder than words, even when your lips say nothing. You carry the frequency now. Let's explore the shift that happens once you reach this stage. When the ringing guided you, you were reacting. Now that it is gone, you are asked to lead. You have noticed it, haven't you? You feel people's energy before they speak. You walk into a room and suddenly feel overwhelmed, not because you are weak, but because your field is scanning spiritual imbalance. You cannot pretend anymore. You cannot fake laugh, fake agree, or fake pray. Your soul rejects the artificial. Why? Because why? Now you have been tuned. Think of it like this. The ringing was the training bell. But you do not ring a bell forever. At some point, you become the bell that vibrates when something is not right around you. A season of hidden protection. When the sound vanishes, chosen ones often go through what seems like rejection, isolation, or loss. Friendships fall apart without warning. Mentors go silent. Opportunities close before opening. But this is not abandonment. It is reassignment. The divine removes what no longer resonates with your new frequency, even if it hurts. Especially when it hurts. You are not being punished. You are being protected while you are recalibrating. Because what comes next is heavier than anything you have ever carried. And the sound, the ringing, was not strong enough to guide you through what is coming. You needed spiritual silence, so you would be forced to walk by intuition, not instruction. This is how leaders are made. Refined. In caves, in deserts, in the hours no one else sees, with the sound of heaven now inside their chest, not their ears. Do you want to know why people stare at you when you walk into rooms? It is not your clothes, not your tone, not your words. It is your field. It is the silence of your soul now glowing with messages it cannot contain. It is the spiritual volume of someone who has stopped asking for signs because they have become the sign. Those with the M and the crescent moon were never meant to follow crowds. They were born to signal awakening through their very presence. And when you have crossed into this silent realm, every step you take becomes a vibration. Every decision you make is a message to the realm. I am ready to act without needing confirmation. I remember who I am. If the ringing taught you to listen, then the silence teaches you to remember. Because long before you started hearing spiritual sounds, you were already carrying spear. The codes found you. That is why you felt chills when you first noticed that M in your hand. That is why your chest tightens every time someone speaks about chosen ones. And something inside you says, they are talking about me, even if they do not know it. The ringing did not make you chosen. It revealed that you have always been chosen. And now that it is quiet, the next chapter begins. Let this truth sink deep. You were not designed to live dependent on ringing, signs, or synchronicities. Those were your starting lines. Now, you are the voice between the lines, the presence that others can lean into when they have lost the sound in their own lives. The silence you carry now, that is not the end of communication. It is the beginning of legacy. You are not here to just survive the spiritual. You are here to build within it. The silence isn't the end. It's the shift of language. Somewhere along this journey, you realized it. You're not the same because your soul started asking different questions. While others were begging for answers, you began listening to patterns. While others feared silence, you started to feel something sacred pulsing beneath it. You now walk with a knowledge that's older than language. The ringing was just one dialect. Now, the divine speaks to you through other codes. In the way your skin reacts to people before your mind catches up. In the magnetic pull to leave a room that looks fine, but feels wrong. In the timing of a breeze, the break in a song, the sudden memory that interrupts your day. In numbers like 1234, 1010, 616, or 101, quietly flashing on clocks and receipts, catching your eye just long enough to stir your intuition. The universe didn't stop talking. It just changed frequencies. And only those with the markings, those spiritually upgraded through pain, detachment, and heals at the same time. Why people project onto you what they haven't healed in themselves. Why some love you instantly and others try to destroy what they can't understand. Because you carry a language now, not spoken, but lived. Let the others chase noise. You've been chosen to recognize silence as sacred, to hear beyond the ear, to feel beyond the flesh, to lead without title, to walk without applause, to become in every step the proof that divinity does not abandon. It evolves. So the next time you wake up and there is no ringing, do not panic. Breathe.